It was a calm day in Snowdin. Nell, Frisk and Monster Kid were trying to think of some game to occupy their bored minds.
How about tag?
Yeah, we did that yesterday.
It's still a good game.
You need to be more adventurous, Nell.
Nell contemplated throwing a snowball at Monster Kid's head, but thought better of it. Besides, he wanted a swirling storm to have enough ammo to last for at least an hour or two. Today was too calm to spoil on energetic frivolities such as that.
I can be adventurous. My big brother Papyrus takes me on patrol with him.
Yeah, that's my point. You spend so much time with your older bros. Can you go anywhere by yourself?
I can. At least my brothers care about me.
Nell regretted her words instantly. Monster Kid's face crumpled. Frisk, being the most exceptional ambassador to have ever graced the underground, the only one in its history and still just a child, take note politicians, quickly interjected. Let's both say sorry.
Nell is adventurous and MK is loved.
How about a game of dare? Nell hugged MK and they both apologised simultaneously. They both agreed with Frisk's idea, although Nell felt as if her brother's spaghetti was wriggling around her abdomen area.
Since I thought of the game, I'll pick who has to do a dare first.
Oh, pick me! Pick me! I want to do it.
Nell scuffed her boot in the snow and concentrated her gaze on the shifting piles she was creating. Frisk smiled at her even though she didn't see it. Okay, MK, you win.
Yippee!
I dare you to sneak into Grillby's. Bonus points if you allow yourself to be spotted. Nell gasped. All the monster children of Snowdin knew you weren't allowed into Grillby's without adult supervision. The reason for this rule was a lot of the adult monsters who frequented there were on their happy sauce. This happy sauce made them do silly things. Nell was also shocked at how they weren't even a minute into the game, and Frisk was already acting mischievously. They were hopping from foot to foot, awaiting Monster Kid's response.
Sneak in the Grillby's? Ha! Easy peasy. Is there a back window I can use or something?
There's only one way in. Frisk pointed to the front door. Monster Kid locked eyes with Nell pleadingly.
Yo, Nell, could you use one of those shortcut things to get me inside?
No way. Mr. Grillby would notice. And I'm not supposed to practice magic without Sans around. He'd kill me.
Some help you are.
Literally, he'd turn me to dust.
It's okay, Nell. MK, this is your dare, so you have to do it alone. You can always opt out.
No, I got this.
In an overzealous display of bravado, Monster Kid charged towards the door as if his soul depended on it. He didn't expect a customer to stumble from said door, leaving it wide open for him to continue through to the centre of Grillby's. Frisk and Nell hid by the side of the building, whispering to each other.
That's a bad thing, right?
Monster down! Monster down! Customers craned their necks, swiveled on stools and seats, and rolled their multiple eyes to see who the intruder was. Grillby sighed and continued to wipe a glass. Two of his most loyal regulars, Redbird and Uglyfish, exchanged amused glances. Monster Kid blushed and fidgeted.
Yo, this isn't my house? It sure looks the same and smells the same.
Monster Kid continued to ramble as Redbird and Uglyfish shared a private commentary.
See, what did I tell ya? Kids are troublemakers. You won't ever find an egg in my nest.
Poor kid. Parents probably don't even give him the time of day. They wouldn't need to as it's always dark out. But still. Anyway, I can bet my feet on one thing. I don't have any fry, but if I did, then sure as Asgore's beard would not be in Grillby's.
I hear ya. Hey, Grillmeister, you so desperate for business you're letting any schmucks in nowadays? Even kids? Shame on you.
Grillby clattered the glass onto the counter, making Redbird squawk and Uglyfish flinch. He readjusted his glasses. Redbird, you are one of my best patrons. I appreciate your custom, but I will ask you to refrain from making such distasteful comments about my business affairs, unless, that is, you wish to be cut off.
No, I'm sorry, Grillbs. Been one of those weeks, you know?
Grillby nodded and muttered under his breath as he walked away. Or I will turn you into roast pheasant or KFC. Frisk told me all about that place. Come into my establishment. He continued to grumble until he reached a cowering Monster Kid. Leave now before I send for your parents. Monster Kid scampered away from the round of applause that went up for Grillby. Frisk grabbed him and pulled him around the side as he exited. Now wrapped her arms around both of them.
Thank our souls. I knew Mr. Grillby wouldn't turn you to ash.
Of course not. He loves us kids.
He looked like he wanted to. Your turn, Frisk. Now, you pick the dare.
Okay. Frisk, I dare you to sneak up on Doggo.
Challenge accepted.
Doggo is easy the trick. You just have to stand still, and then he won't see you.
Well, you can't stop moving then, Frisk. You have to sneak up on him without getting caught.
The reason why Nell picked Doggo was he was in Snowdin, probably on patrol. Being in Snowdin was a good thing, because she knew her brothers would worry if she wandered even a boot step outside of the actual town itself. With a look of determination, Frisk started to stealthily make their way over to Doggo. Nell and Monster Kid hid behind the Christmas tree.
Just a little further. Nearly there.
Frisk kept walking and reached their hand out to pet Doggo on the back. His ears must have been sharper than usual because he whipped around to face them. Frisk paused momentarily. Human, what you doing?
Frisk lost the...
Nell flung herself at Monster Kid and clamped her gloved hand over his mouth.
Are you crazy? Do you want to have a bad time? You'll get us all in trouble.
Sorry, Doggo. I just wanted to give you a pep for all of the hard work you've been doing lately. Doggo narrowed his shifty eyes, so they ended up looking like slits. Patrol is serious work. Patrol is important. You have interrupted me. As I said, I'm sorry, Doggo. Please, I don't want to fight. No fight. This will make you stay. Nell and Monster Kid watched on horrified as Doggo unleashed a flurry of knife attacks. Of course, Frisk was well versed in monster attacks, so they knew to stay calm and still. It was still terrifying to watch from the sidelines.
Yo! We have to help Frisk! They won't be able to move until Doggo stops! Why won't he stop? He shouldn't be able to see them anymore!
Because he can sense Frisk is there now. Oh no, what do we do?
Nell! Do something!
Me? What can I do?
Use your magic to stop the knives!
MK,
Do something!
The pressure from Monster Kid caused Nell to panic. She released her blue attack and all of the knives immediately stopped spinning. Hey, where did my attack go? Doggo's head snapped over to where he sensed some kind of force. Nell froze and internally repeated to herself.
I'm so dead, I'm so dead, I'm so dead.
Nell shifted her pupils to the left, willing Frisk to get the cue. Frisk nodded and started to run. Doggo immediately reacted and started to pursue them. Human, halt! Stay! Sit!
Whoa. MK? I feel dizzy.
No! Don't pass out! We gotta run!
Monster Kid dived underneath Nell, who flopped onto his back. She somehow mustered the strength to wrap her arms gently around his neck. Her limbs felt heavier than ice, and her skull felt like Ice Wolf was chiseling away at it with a jackhammer. After a good time of running and dodging, the group made it to a bushy area of snowed-in forest. Doggo lost sight of them and gave up, returning to town with his tail between his legs.
Yo! I thought bones were meant to be light!
Nell opened her eyes and slid off Monster Kid's back. She looked around and recognised the snowy trees. This was where her brother Papyrus would usually bring her on patrol. She'd left Snowed-in.
You took me across the bridge? I'm not supposed to be out here. We need to go home.
Chill, it's fine. One more dare to do, and then we can go back. We don't want to bump into Doggo again, do we?
Don't worry now. Your brothers won't find out. It's your turn, and MK will pick what you have to do. As Nell was freaking out and Frisk was doing their best to reassure her, Monster Kid noticed an unusual visitor to the snowed-in area.
Wow! Washua is actually outside of Waterfall for a change. Good for him. Ooh, I know your dare, Nell. I dare you to jump inside Washua.
That's a bad joke, right?
Nope.
But Washua is a living monster. I don't want to hurt him. I won't do it. This is me. What was that word you used earlier? Frisk?
Opt out?
Yes, that.
Fine. If you're being a scaredy bones, I'll do it.
Monster Kid charged towards Washua. Washua looked up in surprise. Monster Kid leapt in the air and landed inside Washua's water with a splash. Washua, in outrage, slammed his lid shut. His run was stumpy, but speedy. He ran in a circle and bucked. It reminded them of an angry gift trot.
Frisk, could you calm Washua down? If you did, then maybe I could get close enough to get MK out.
Frisk sauntered over to Washua, who skidded to a halt, sending a spray of snow upwards. They stared at Frisk, who shot finger guns at them, now skull-palmed. Now? A little help here?
I agree with Washua. Why did you try flirting, Frisk?
Frisk yelled back that they didn't know as Washua chased them chanting filthy over and over again. Nell thought about going back to Snowed-in to get one of her brothers, but the prospect of facing them filled her with anything but determination. She took a deep breath and tried her blue attack.
I'm not done, Wash.
Frisk seized their chance and leapt onto Washua's back. They opened his lid and pulled Monster Kid out, who spluttered.
Yuck! I'm going to be tasting soap for months!
Nell let her blue attack fade. She was pleased that this time there was no dizziness. Washua left with a verbal parting shot, but at least he didn't spray them with water.
Filthy hooligans.
They all agreed to head back to Snowed-in. The word exhaustion did not do justice to how they felt. Nell compared her bones to fire. Frisk felt as if their lungs would explode any second, and Monster Kid had almost drowned. Well, that's what he insisted as they made the long walk back.
We can't let them know what we did today. We have to act natural. Especially you, Monster Kid.
What? Not using my nickname? Why do you always pick on me?
I'm not. You tend to get easily excited, and then you end up telling monsters things you shouldn't.
Grilby did see him. The whole of Grilby's saw him. Nell shrugged before waving with Frisk to Monster Kid, who decided it would be best to head home. They just had to hope he wouldn't tell his parents.
I like to stay positive, Frisk.
Toriel came to collect Frisk and Nell headed back home. She went to knock, but the door flung open and almost flattened her. Suddenly, she was up in the air. Papyrus was giving her a bone-crushing hug. No pun intended. She actually found it hard to breathe.
Oh, sister, it was getting so dark out. I was really starting to get worried about you.
Nell looked up at the cavernous ceiling with a quizzical look. It was always dark, wasn't it? She loved her big brother Papyrus though, so she wasn't going to tease him or question him about it.
Sorry, Pap. Time flies when you're with friends.
Speaking of time, it looks like you'll be hitting the sack soon. A little sleepy there, Nell? Having trouble keeping your eye sockets open?
It's been a long day.
Well, lucky for you, I finished a batch of my famous spaghetti.
Papyrus put Nell down and marched back into the house, leaving Nell alone with Sans.
So, Nell, did you use any of your magic today?
No? Why do you ask?
Well, Doggo swore he saw you draped like a pile of bones across Monster Kid's back. Now, unless you were playing some kind of game, that sounds exactly like when you overdo it when we practice magic.
Sans had that knowing glint in his eyes. Nell stood silently. How could she convince him otherwise?
Oh, and I went to Grilby's. Sorry I didn't take you along, but you were out with your friends. He told me the craziest thing about... Wanna guess who?
Redbird or ugly fish? They can be pretty cray.
Wrong. Monster Kid. Starting to see a trend?
Sans,
To top it all off, Washua showed up, and well, let's just say I'm gonna have a bad time getting that image out of my head.
Nell felt tears pricking her eyes. They were threatening to fall. Sans placed a hand on her shoulder.
No, I don't want any tears. I'm not mad at you now. I'm more disappointed than anything. I know I can be a bit of a bonehead with the strict rule of no leaving Snowden without me or Paps. But you gotta understand, it's from a place of love, alright? You're my little sis. It's my job to protect you.
yes. I'm sorry, Sans. Are you going to tell Papyrus?
Nah, we won't tell him. I don't want him freaking out. Besides, for one horrifying moment today, I thought we were going to have the whole of the underground at our door. What were you kiddos up to anyway?
It was Frisk's idea. They wanted to play dares.
Sans threw back his head and laughed. He knew Nell would have been having a moral crisis. There was nothing to worry about. She'd never broken any rules before. This wouldn't become a regular thing. If it meant he'd have to keep a closer eye socket on her, then that's what he would do.
Just promise me one thing, Nell. No more playing dares.
I promise.